Dr. Adrian King was born in St. Gallen, Switzerland, and he has dual nationality. He speaks fluent German. He is an author, an inventor, a manufacturing engineer. He served in the nuclear artillery in Germany. He has top secret clearance. He has worked for in robotics design, and he has worked for such things as Ontario Hydro, Lawrence Livermore, General Atomics, Brookhaven National Labs, and the list goes on and on. He has this great book, and it's called Vale, Vale or Vale-E. You'll have to tell me, Adrian, in a minute. It's V-A-L-E, subtitled The Illuminati and Its Plans for the Future. So you know where our conversation is going to tonight. We are going to talk about the Illuminati. We're going to talk about all the dirty, rotten things that are going on. We're going to talk about Karl Marx and communism. But right now, what I want to do is say, Adrian, Dr. Krieg, welcome to my show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be there.
Why don't you give us a little more information on yourself? If you have a website, you can give out the website.
Sure.
Tell us how to get your book.
I have actually two sites.
Okay.
One of them is www.kriegbooks, K-R-I-E-G, books.com. And the other site is A to Z, that's an A and then a number 2, Z, publications.com. The second site is primarily a book selling site. It has also lists other things that I have for sale, like bronze casting, and I used to make cannons and all kinds of stuff like that.
Okay. Now, a little bit about your experience. You have all this different kind of experience. How does this fit in with the Illuminati? You have this high-level security clearance and whatnot. But let me ask you this one question. I'm curious. You have dual nationality. Does that mean you have nationality in Switzerland and the United States?
That's right.
I thought United States you could not have dual nationality unless
you can't with most countries, but with Switzerland there is a treaty that goes back to the 1840s, I believe, and it's called the Swiss-American Friendship Treaty. And it allows Americans to hold Swiss citizenships and Swiss to hold American citizenship.
But see, I know that's true with Israel, but I did not know that was true with other countries.
Yeah, well, I think Switzerland is the only other one that was long, long before Israel. I mean, Switzerland is 750-some years old now, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, they're older than we are. They have more importance, right?
Right.
Let's talk about your relationship now with the Illuminati in terms of how you got involved with this, how it fits in with communism, because we are certainly, we are already in a communistic tract. That is what our country is becoming.
Well, I think that started with FDR.
Okay, so let's start with Adam Weishaupt. Most of my listeners know, I have told them 1,000 times, I've had on so many guests, they know pretty much about Adam Weishaupt being an ex-Jesuit in Cecil Rhodes and all that, but slide us kind of from Adam Weishaupt to where we are today.
Well, Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit-educated man who showed extremely good talents. He was a very intelligent man, and at a very young age, due to a papal bull, came to hold the chair of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt. Now, this occurred because the Jesuits had always held the canon law chair, but when a papal bull came out, it, I don't know how you say it, ordered the Jesuits to cease and desist. So the university had to appoint someone else, and it was Adam Weishaupt at a very young age. I think he was in his maybe late 20s. Now, what's extremely interesting about this is that canon law, of course, was the law of the Catholic Church. This is in Bavaria, and Bavaria is 100% Roman Catholic, and so the seat of canon law in the 1770s, 1780s is a extremely important position. Adam Weishaupt had always wanted to, I don't know what you call it, to lead and to, become a king of sorts, to rule over people. And he tried a couple of times to start a secret society. And actually, it proved really rather fruitless in the beginning. And so he joined the Rosicrucians. And, they have a place in America, in San Jose. They're a relatively benign organization.
On the surface.
Pardon?
On the surface.
Oh, yes. And after, I think, 6 or 8 months, he decided this wasn't the right way because they were not organized in a structural manner. He joined the Masons. And after a few months, he found that the Masons had a structure that was almost military in nature. You have your lodge with your ruling master, and then you have your Grand Lodge, which might rule a county, and then you have a next lodge, which might rule a state, and the next one to rule the country, and so on and so forth, up the ladder. In other words, a very structured thing. And he felt this was the right way to expand his ideas of Illuminism. He then proceeded to take over one lodge after another. What he did is he would infiltrate the lodge with his people. They would join the lodge. They would then expand and gradually take over the lodge. He, in short order, took over somewhere almost 200 lodges in Germany, and they began to expand into France. Now, this was what you would call the Illuminist takeover of the Masonic lodges of basically 3 countries, Germany, France, and Italy. To be fair to the Masons, we have to understand that Hitler liquidated all Masonic lodges, and most Masons wound up in concentration camps. So they were wiped out. Mm-hmm. And in France, the Illuminists, now this is going back to the 1780s, 1790s, turn of the century, 1800, they organized a French Revolution. The entire political and social movement at that time had joined the Masons. Maupassant, all of these people had joined them. And they brought about this horrible bloodbath in France. It lasted exactly the same amount of years as the American Revolution, 11 years. The basic difference is that the American Revolution had a purpose, it had a reasonable leadership, and it had a direction. The French Revolution was disorganized mayhem and murder. That's it. Nothing else. As the Illuminists progressed in their movement, and this is what's very important to understand. Illuminism is a parasite. What they do in every instance is they infiltrate another movement, take it over, and then use it as the instrument to attain power. In Germany and France, they did it with the Masonic lodges. In Russia, they did it with Zionism. They infiltrated the Zionist movements around 1900. By 1910 or so, they virtually controlled the entire Zionist movement in Western Europe. And, of course, the people who orchestrated the Russian revolutions were all Zionists, every one of them. And
define Zionism for us.
Zionism is a socio-political movement. It is not a religion. It is not Judaism. It is a socio-political movement. For instance, in Israel today, my guess would be that probably around 60% are Zionists, and the rest of the people are Jews. Jews have a religious belief. Zionists, for the most part, are either agnostic or atheists.
Well, that's interesting because when I have guests come on and talk about Zionism, Adrian, everybody gets upset and thinks they're talking about the Jews.
Of course, but this is, remember what we said, the movement was taken over, and this is how they do it. It's extremely clever. What they do is they hide behind Judaism. They say, "Oh, you've criticized Zionism. You're an anti-Semite." That word by itself is an anachronism because the Semitic races are all the Arabs, all the Jews, in fact, everybody who lives in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's just a wrong term. But I think a lot of people really don't understand this derelation of issues of the Illuminist movement taking over the Masonic movement, which, by the way, in France, they were successful in purging all of the Illuminists out of the Masonic lodges. The Grand Orient of France, I think, by 1913 had purged all of their lodges. So we see that they did that, and then we see they took over the Zionist movement in Russia, and they're in the process of taking over the United States. And the question is, will they be successful, or are they already successful? And that is a very, very big question, because today in America, they control banking, lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, I don't think that anybody could disagree with that. They controls through their neocons probably the large percentage of both political parties. They certainly control all political races. Presidential contests in America are a total farce. What else can you say?
So, what you're saying then is that we're dealing with is it not an elite group of people who are really running the world? And
yes, absolutely.
They have pretty much taken over a good majority of the world. I'm not so sure about the UK, but they're working on America right now, and we're all sitting twiddling our thumbs.
Well, this is the essential and quintessential problem, is that these people have been extremely clever in hiding their actions and in hiding their actions behind other organizations. In doing so, most people are totally comatose on the issue. Let me give you an example. Who are the Illuminists in America? And it's really quite simple to figure that out and to prove it. There is an organization at Yale University called Bones. Right. It's also referred to as 322, the Order, and the original name when it was incorporated in New Haven, Connecticut, was the Order of Death.
Right. Well, we're talking the skull and bones.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, if you compare the initiation, I guess you call it the initiation of a Illuminist into the Illuminist movement, and then compare that with the same thing for Bones, you find that they're absolutely identical. In other words, the way a person becomes an Illuminist is the identical same way a person becomes a Bonesman. So we know from this that Bones is the American domicile of the Illuminati. And then we can go back and we can say, well, who would be? The Harriman brothers. What do the Harriman brothers own? They own the Harriman Brothers Pink, about $1 billion. What do they control? They control Yale University. Yale University's funds for the university exceed billions of dollars. What else do they control? Well, how about David Rockefeller? He's a bonesman. How about George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. and John Kerry and